a voice that they'll hear, okay? So that's really what we're after, is trying to make it so that you all are folks who are valued in that workplace, and you're someone that your peers in that workplace will actually listen to, right? Like, how do we do that? How do we start that and get along that path? As I mentioned, I'm with HR Fit. What is HR Fit? We're HR consultancy. Talk all about it if you want. But the point is, I'm coming at this from a human resources perspective. Has been doing this in a number of different arenas for a number of years. Okay, so I think I can give a kind of a unique perspective on how to do this, how you might be able to accomplish this stuff. I would like to know though, who are all of you? All right, so I'd like to go around and name, title, hopes and dreams. Here's what I want to know. How many of you are actually in supervisory roles, like hiring and firing authority? Okay, got a couple of folks there. How many of you might be in kind of a team leadership role? Okay, first one. Got it. Cool. All right, helps me out. How many of you might be in some kind of leadership role outside of that? Maybe you volunteer with an organization, something like that. All right. So we've got folks in kind of differing levels here of leadership, of supervision, those kinds of things. That's good. I would strongly recommend too, if you're not doing like some kind of a volunteer thing, I would do that. First of all, I'm from Peoria. You guys are in Peoria. Peoria likes good people, so that's cool. Secondly, that is a fantastic way to network, to get to know some folks, to get to showcase your skills as a leader, right? Also to learn some more skills. So jump into that. All right, so that helps me out. Today we're going to be talking about a number of things. We've got 45 minutes to try to get a lot of stuff done. I'm going to try to make this interactive in a lot of ways. You'll see some index cards on the table in front of you. Feel free to use those to ask any questions if you might like, okay? Shelby Dawson is here from the HR Fit team, and she is going to collect those a little bit later. You also can stop me at any time and go ahead and ask. I should also mention, you may have noticed, we're recording this for our own purposes here, marketing purposes. We want you all to know that this is being recorded. If you're not comfortable with that, that's okay. You don't have to say. Also know we work to make sure that I'm the one on camera. Okay. But please feel free to stop me, ask questions. We'll have a couple of times along the way where we can stop and do things. All right. Here's what I'm really trying to get at today. To be this voice they'll hear. Let's think about what do they see when they see you, okay? They being your peers. They being those folks who are in positions of influence, right, within the organization. Think about that, because we're going to come back to this, but that is worth spending some time on, worth thinking about. Let's talk about this multi-generational workplace. First part of the presentation, I'm going to give you some things to think about, kind of frame that up, and then we're going to dive into what actions you all might really want to be able to take. This workplace right now, we've got 5 generations. I mean, barely. We've still got some folks who are older than boomers, but they're there. And it won't be long until the generation after Z, depending upon which label you want to put on it, they will be in the workforce too, right? But that's a lot of different people with a lot of different life experiences going on. Also keep in mind that globally, Gen Z is already the largest percentage of the global population. So globally, they've kind of got this boomer demographic. Let's define that just a little bit of what we mean by the different generations. Boomers, right after World War II, 1945, till roughly the mid-60s. Gen X up until late 70s-ish. Millennials then into kind of early mid-90s. And then Gen Z, early part of the 2010s, more or less, right? That's my overlap a little bit, just so everybody understands what we're talking about. So, let's start talking about what this looks like in the workplace. We do trainings for all kinds of groups. Different employers will do them for different professional associations. So I'm talking with people of all different generations, right? So I will share information with them. I will want to get their perspectives on this. I'm going to share with you some quotes that I have found out there. And I shared them with some of those older generations. And I asked them, which of these do you think best describes Gen Z? So we're going to do this a little bit like dating game style. Like, which of these do you think they said best describes Gen Z? All right, so what would they say? Here's the first one. The traditional yearning for a benevolent employer who can provide a job for life also seems to be on the wane. In particular, they want to avoid low-level jobs that aren't keeping them intellectually challenged. Probably there is no period in history in which young people have given such emphatic utterance to a tendency to reject that which is old and to wish for that which is new. Third, more bluntly, they think they know everything and are always quite sure, right? I'm not going to be shy, I'd be happy to tell you. So, how many think that folks older than you described you as the first one? Second one? All right, third one? Yeah, kind of. So here's the part where we've only known each other for like 10 minutes, but I'm going to squander any goodwill that I've already had with you. This is a trick question, right? Maybe some of you saw this coming. The first one was from 1995, right? That was about Generation X. These kids today don't care about the employer, right? They just need to make sure that they are intellectually challenged, stimulated constantly. Number two is from an article about young people drinking more, which was a big problem apparently in Portsmouth, England in 1936. Okay? They reject everything that's old and all they care about is new stuff. And finally, we're going to go way back. That's our buddy Aristotle from the 4th century BC, right? That's the translation. So, I can't say I did all this research myself. This was from a fantastic article that I found from someone writing from the BBC, which is why it says they've always whinged. That's not a typo. And then I started watching Bluey. Anybody who has kids, then they learn what whinged meant. But the point being that humanity has a long, robust, rich tradition about complaining about other people. Okay? Like it's kind of a favorite pastime. So I think this is important for us to know because this is how folks are looking at young people in the workplace, how they have looked at young people in the workplace, how they will look at young people in the workplace. We should just realize that, right? We should just acknowledge that. I think we would be better, I hope this doesn't get too washed out, instead of thinking about generations in the workplace in terms of when they were born, let's think about where they're at right now, okay? This is a great graphic from the Society for Human Resources Management, and it talks about 5 broad major career stages. 1, getting started. Just graduated school, you're figuring out what you want life to be, where you're at, kind of early 20s, right? You start to move into stage 2, you're launching your career in earnest, figuring out, okay, this is what I want to do, or maybe you figured out this is not what I want to do, now I'm going to go into this area. Approximate age range, kind of late 20s, early 30s. Mid-career, you've got lots of experience. You've probably decided if I'm going to go down this like technical subject matter expert route, or maybe I want to go down the leadership route. You're discerning that. Late career, stage 4, you've pretty much figured out like what it is you're doing. You probably hit most of the promotions that you're going to hit, or there's only a couple left. And then stage 5 is retirement, bridge jobs, folks who want to keep working because they want to keep working, right? Which is awesome. I think this much more dictates how people react to the workplace, all right? So, take an example here. Like, what's going to be important to somebody in stage 1? Let's say they're 25, right? They're single, got an idea, like I know pretty much what my profession is and where I want to go, but I really only have to have health coverage for myself. I really only have to keep a roof over my head for me, or maybe get enough so I can get out of my parents' house, right? Don't have any kids, whatever it might be. Contrast that to somebody who's in mid-career, stage 3, 45, has 4 kids, right? And they're thinking, you know what I really need is I need to make sure I've got stable income, I've got health insurance for this family of 6, right? Those are different equations than they were for the person who's 25, all right? And I don't care if you were born in 1985 or 1965 or 1945, right? That's what you're facing at the point in your life. This is a part where I also pick on you, I won't ask you to raise your hands. But then if I did, and I asked how many young people in this room were fully participating in your employer's retirement plan with the match, I bet it wouldn't be everybody. I bet it would take that for you. Traditionally, though, that demographic the participation starts to increase as people get older, as they start to sit there and go, oh, retirement is coming, like, I should do something here. It has been that way forever. It will likely be that way forever. Because, by and large, younger folks tend not to think as much about retirement. You guys who aren't, good on you, you're smart. So, I would encourage you to start thinking about things this way, okay? Because, like, people are people, okay? We start talking about generational stereotypes, really is what this is. Boomers do this, millennials do that, whatever. To me, that's a shortcut to having to do the real work of understanding our employees and our peers, right? I can just say, you're a millennial, you do this, right? That guy, he's a boomer, you know boomers, okay? I'm not saying that there aren't generational tendencies, because like, boomers grew up in a world that was different than Gen Z, like this thing. Absolutely. But I will talk to them and I'll start talking about Gen Z. And I'm back on it, like there will be like those boomers and they're like, kids, right? And I try to help them understand it's a different world. Think about the world they're in versus the world you were in, right? Largely, people have grown up in a digital age, right? Information has been at their fingertips. Most things are on demand. Right? If we all wanted to say, who wants to stay here right now and get something to eat? Someone would be at that door with whatever food we wanted, like within 45 minutes. Okay. Entertainment, whatever, all that stuff. Why wouldn't work be any different? Also keep in mind the job market we've been in for the last few years. Like we were in a white hot labor market 2 years ago. The lowest unemployment rate in 50 years. Okay? Anybody who wanted a job and could kind of do anything could go get a job. And so I was hearing folks complaining about like, these kids, they just want it this way, or they'll go do whatever else. Well, why wouldn't they? You would. Like, if you were 20-something trying to find the right spot, you would very likely do the same thing. So you need to change your mindset to figure out how to connect with them. So that's the same thing I'm sharing with you guys, right? Understand that rather than sitting here and saying the generations don't understand each other, I don't know how to relate to these folks, I wish they'd figure me out. You would be far better suited to say, these are people. They're at different stages in their lives and careers in this organization. How can I connect with them, right? How am I going to make it so that I can help them, help the company out, all that kind of stuff. Okay, so those are the kind of key points on this first point. Companies are undergoing and will continue to undergo tremendous transformations, new technologies, demographic shifts, global trends, etc. Regardless of age, your team is going to be much more likely to shift gears. Questions on this first part? I'll tell you too, I will send the presentation to Madeline. I'm not exactly sure if they're pushing it out to everybody, but I will get it to her. You guys are more than welcome to it. Let's see. All right. Now we're going to go into what you guys can do, what you should do, how you can approach this. I'm going to talk a lot about how you should think about things. I would recommend you think about it. How I would recommend you approach things, how I'd recommend you approach your coworkers, especially ones that are older and more experienced. But a lot of that is going to be soft skills. A lot of that's going to be perspective. A lot of that's going to be approach. Here's the hard and fast rule, right? If you want to be taken seriously, you've got to deliver. Everything I'm going to say here about approaching them, about seeking mentorship, about whatever, if you don't do your job, none of that applies, okay? Because why would they spend a lot of that time? Why would they listen to you if you can't do the thing that you're supposed to be doing now, right? Why would they give you more responsibility? That's it. Okay, so to be taken seriously, you've got to deliver. So now we're back to this notion of what do they see when they see you? Here's what I hope that they see. If anybody's familiar with Patrick Lencioni, 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, like that's a great book. I would recommend you read it. I know your boss has read it, or at least heard of it. He also had done another book about the ideal team player, and giving full credit to Lencioni here. But the ideal team player, and I'm way boiling this down, is somebody who's seen as humble, hungry, and smart. Right? Humble in that they approach things with humility, right? They don't have to be the center of attention. They know that the team and that the mission, the organization, all that comes first. All my work should be aligned towards the team. They're hungry and that they show initiative, right? I want to learn, I want to help, give me more to do, I will help figure it out, right? You want to be seen as somebody who takes initiative and wants to learn, wants to help the company. And they're smart, right? You should be smart. You're obviously all smart, you're here, right? Number one. But then number two, you should know your stuff. If there's things that you're supposed to know about your work, be prepared, do the homework. Come prepared and be ready for that. Because if you're not, your older coworkers will be ready for that too, right? There are people, the reality is, as much as I just said, like the generational differences shouldn't be stereotyped, it shouldn't be shorthand for how we treat each other. There are people who are going to see it that way, right? And you are at a certain disadvantage entering the workforce because they're the ones who are already there, they're the ones who are already in that position of influence. So I think you would do well to recognize that. You don't have to stay there, you don't have to play that role, but you should recognize their perspective, right? So be smart, be prepared, come into it. So what do they see when they see you? Hopefully this is what they see. This is what we're aiming for. People are going to be humble, hungry, and smart, right? Ready to get after it. How do we do this? We give you a few things I would recommend that you do. Start with you, all right? Know what you value. What is important to you? A lot of people don't take the minute to think about this. I had done in my HR career a lot of labor relations, a lot of collective bargaining agreements. We sit down these contract negotiations. But before we got in there, we had to figure out what we wanted, okay? If you don't know what you want going into a negotiation, you will get that, right? So we had to figure out what we wanted. It's the same thing here. What do you want out of a job? And back to that example, what you want at 25 might be different than 35, might be different than 45, probably. But I'd say, I'd think about that. Are you in this position where I need a lot of flexibility? Or you're like, I want something that's going to give me a lot of opportunity? I need the money, I got student loans. Right? What is it for you? So know what you want. I would also be realistic, right? I was watching something the other day, and they were really talking about some new college grads who are having a lot of trouble finding jobs. And I was not super impressed with the report because the sample size was very small. This young lady had a lot of education. She wanted to be this particular job, and she put out 10 to 20 applications and found out she was overqualified. I was like, wow, really 20? Okay. Like, first of all, that's not very many. And then number two, you might not get your dream job right out of grad school, right? But if you know what you value, you know what you want, you can get yourself on a path to be there, okay? Moreover, the folks who are going to be able to move you into those places, they had to do this, right? They had to work hard. They value that. They're looking for people who are going to do the same thing. Develop a growth mindset, right? One nice thing about being earlier on in your career is that people don't expect you to know. Like, they remember, okay? But if you're humble, hungry, smart, going at it with good intentions, that's going to make up for a lot. So be ready to try new things. Be ready to take new initiatives. Understand that they probably won't all work out, and that's all right. Prepare to step outside of your own comfort zone. So take on those new challenges and responsibilities to expand your skills, build resilience, look for opportunities to do that. So all that stuff starts up here first for you, right? The other thing I would do is make sure I come at things with humility. Start from this place of humility. Because like I said, there are folks who are looking for someone to be humble, hungry, and smart. There are also folks who are ready to point out that this kid doesn't really know what they trotted out there. They think they're the best thing ever, they know everything, they're ready to tell you about it. Start from a place of humility. If you're on a team, approach your team with humility. Acknowledge their expertise. Actively seek out the knowledge and the wisdom of your older employees. So you guys will know who it is that really is listened to, right? You know who is on your team who's valued. We'll talk in a minute about building some relationships. Connect with those people. authentically. Don't do it in kind of a brown nosy way. Like, seek and embrace feedback. So I would actively solicit feedback from, ask your boss, you did a big project, how did this go? What could I do better next time? That's the knock against young people, right? Especially Gen Z, they can't handle it, bunch of snowflakes, right? They can't handle criticism. Well, get on the other side of that, right? Yeah, you can. And tell them, how do I get better? This is how I get better. You're like, let me know. And again, they don't expect you to be perfect, right? You're earlier in your career. You should be learning. This is what they want to see. Admit your mistakes. Take responsibility for your errors because it shows confidence and integrity. It starts to earn respect. Everybody makes mistakes. Don't cast blame. Don't try to put it under the rug. If you did it, that's fine. Admit it with a solution, right? Here's what I did. Here's how we're going to fix it, boss. That work? That second part is really, really important. Because otherwise, you just bring your boss problems, right? Like, this happened. What do I do? This happened. Here's what I'm going to do. Is that okay? All right. Practice assertiveness in the right way, humbly, confidently, but you still need to express if you need something. You can express opinions. We'll talk about a little bit more how to do some of that. But we're not aggressive, right? But we are assertive. You asked somebody for some information 3 days ago via email, you still haven't gotten it. It's okay to ask again. It'd be okay to even pick up the phone and give them a call, right? That is perfectly acceptable. I would email them and then call them 20 minutes later. That's what Now let's talk about how we might actually interact. Anybody, so we've heard silence is golden. Anybody know the full quote? Why is silence golden? It's the second half of the quote, which goes, speech is silver, silence is golden. Right? Choose your words carefully. We talk about this as our team, especially when we're in some sensitive situations. The more you say, the less they'll hear. Your words start to get lost, right? If you're in a situation where you need to share some information, first I would listen a lot, right? I would practice active listening and I would confirm what I heard. And then if I need to say something, I'd make sure that it's worthwhile, right? And I'd say it. And then I'd be done. Okay. They're only going to listen to you so much, right? So make sure that what you're saying counts. You ever been in those meetings where there's like the one man or woman who just like doesn't say a whole lot? But then when they do, everybody who's taking notes, everybody who's been clacking away when everybody comes up. Like they want to hear what this person says, right? That's who we want. I don't care what that person's title is, that person matters, right? They have influence in that organization. And it's because there's a potency when they speak. So that's how we get there. We make sure that our words matter. So think about that. I would not take like a war of attrition with your words, right? I'm going to talk so much I wear them down and then listen to you. The opposite will happen. Like they will tune you out. Think about your workplace now too. Like know the place where you work. And I'd say know three things. Number one, know your role. Like really know like what is expected of you. You folks who are supervisors, right? That's fantastic. What's really expected of you in terms of leading your team, right? Are you really just kind of directing work? Are you actually having to try to grow them in their skill set? What's that look like? For those of you who are team leads, what's the deliverable that you're supposed to get out of these folks? For if you're an individual contributor, what is it that you are supposed to, like you gotta know what's expected. If you don't know, ask your boss, right? Ask them that question and get specific because that's only fair to you. You can't deliver on something that you don't know the expectations. So number one, know your role. What is it that you're supposed to do in your organization? Number two, know then how you fit in the organization. Individually. How do you fit in there? And here's what I mean by that. Like, are you one of many in your position or relatively few? Like, are you a team of 12 graphic designers? Or is this a small organization where you're the graphic designer, right? Those are two different expectations for that same position. So understand that. And bigger teams, it might be harder to have more influence than it is on a smaller team. Are there many young people there or not? You know, if you're on that team of 12 graphic designers,
Is it 12 of you that started the same day in this enormous department? Or are there like 6 of them that have been there for 20 years, 5 that have been there for 10 years, and then there's you? Right? That's a different organization. So think about that. Know where you fit in there, right? And then the last thing I would say is know the power in the organization. And here's what I really mean by that. Like, who should you really be listening to? Listen to your boss, number one. Listen to your boss's boss, and your boss's boss's boss. Listen to all those people. But then also listen to the people who clearly have influence. If you're on that team of 12, like there is one person that's really, really good, and people listen to that person. You should tune into what they say, right? When they're speaking. There may be a manager that everybody respects, but they're in a different department. There's a big meeting, listen to what that person says, okay? You know who these people are. Part of what I want you to do, though, is know who not to listen to, okay? In my experience, the more someone really is in the know, and the more somebody has the gossipy tidbits that are the real story, the less they actually have the real story. I would encourage you to not get sucked into that, right? I would encourage you to stay on the side of positivity, respectfulness, okay? I don't think you want that connected to you, right? You don't want that to start to be attached to your reputation. So I find amicable, diplomatic, professional ways to get out of those conversations, right? Don't participate in that, because that will start to get attached to you. And honestly, like I said, most of the time, the vast majority of that kind of information is inaccurate. And you'd be making decisions based on that info. So know the place, know your role, know your fit, and then know really where the power is there. I'm going to start shifting here into authentic relationships, but I want you to think about back to that question I had towards the very beginning. What do you value? Like, I really want you to think about that. At the very end of this, we're going to have a little bit of an exercise for you to think about how you might move forward. But as I work through this, what do you value? What do you really want to see out of your work? Okay. All right, let's talk about building authentic relationships. I love this quote. They won't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Okay? They have to know that you really are invested in the organization, you really are invested in the company, you really are invested in their success, and then that's going to translate to success for you. So, what do I mean by that? You need to demonstrate commitment. Demonstrate commitment, like this is active, okay? So, back to the point of like showing initiative. People need to see that you are a part of the team. So demonstrate commitment to the mission, whatever the mission is of your organization. How is your work advancing that? Be thinking about that. There will be times where it's a little gray. You're not exactly sure what to do, which way to go on this part. Demonstrate that commitment to the mission. How does your work tie back to what it is we're supposed to do? Demonstrate commitment to the team, right? When all else fails, help somebody out. Seek a way to help somebody out. If there's something that you can do for them, do it. Help those people be successful, and that's going to help you be successful, right? That should be your objective here. Build professional relationships. Find ways to interact with these folks professionally. Like, if there is something where there's a potluck in the break room, go to that. The company bought Chiefs tickets, go to that. Get to know these people. Be around them. There's a happy hour, go to that. But I don't drink, have a soda. Like, just be around these people. Because, first of all, this just builds good culture. Secondly, you want them to know you. Because then you're going to get the benefit of the doubt down the road, right? Stuff happens. People misinterpret emails, mistakes are made, whatever. You want them to say, oh, I know Eric, look, I think what he probably meant was, da-da-da. Or better yet, hey, let's go ask Eric. I can pick up the phone. We had a good time at the Chiefs game, right? As opposed to, that guy, when did he start? I don't know, but I can't believe he handled it this way. Okay? So workplace relationships are more than just a feel-good thing, right? They're good. You should know the folks you work with. Some of my best friends are people I work with, and that's awesome. also understand there's value in those relationships, and this isn't like phony, disingenuous stuff. Please don't misunderstand, right? In fact, if you come at it that way, people know right away, and that will work against you. I'm saying just get to know these people, the folks you work with. In fact, don't BS, right? I'm not a huge fan of fake it till you make it, to be honest with you. Right? If you made a mistake, you made the mistake. Own it, have a solution, and move on. These folks have been around a long time, right? Especially folks who are in leadership roles. They didn't get there by accident. They can pick up on something, all right? You blew at the deadline. Just totally screwed it up. Completely forgot. It was supposed to have been done 2 weeks ago. And your boss asked where it is, right? Don't say, geez, yeah, I don't know where that stuff is for Bob. Like, let me check on that again. I sent him an email and I haven't heard back. Okay, number one, you just blame Bob, you didn't take ownership of it. Number two, that's way too easy to fact check. Right? That is a phone call to Bob. Where your boss just says, when did you email him? Right? And now you look awful. And they probably won't call you out, but they will know. Right? So don't do that kind of stuff. Just be like, this is on me. I should have prioritized it, but here's what we'll do, I'll get on it. They know this. People who BS are not as smart as they think. Everybody knows what's going on. Just be genuine. And I've said it before, you're like, don't gossip. Like, if you want to tank your relationships with everybody, by all means, right? Get in there and really start tearing everybody down. Talk about who's dating who, what nefarious things have been done with the budget. Go for it, right? If you hate that company and you don't want to work there very long, that's what I would do. Stay out of that. Be the best version of yourself. So, we're going to deliver our results. I'm going to move these along just a little bit. We're going to do like the basics of be punctual, be reliable, get your stuff done, right? Take away that easy argument. Work hard, be humble, listen more than you talk, leverage wisdom, be authentically professional, okay? And I want to talk about this because you should be yourself at work. You should be your best professional self at work, okay? Shelby and I can regale you with stories of when things went wrong in the workplace because someone decided that they were going to keep it real, right? And this is me, and this is who I am. Well, okay, but if this is you means you're going to swear at your coworkers all day and be nasty to work with, because that's how you are everywhere else in your life. Okay, it doesn't work here, right? Go do that someplace else. So you should be yourself and be genuine, but understand you should still be professional. There's topics we should talk about, things we should do. Okay, and I'm going to come back to this. All the stuff I said, I mean all of it, and this is what I would do, but to be really taken seriously, you got to do your work, right? You got to be able to execute, because otherwise none of this other stuff will apply. All right, we're going to start closing it out, and then I'm interested in what questions you guys might have, but I want to give two slides, 3 quick notes on this one for our managers, and this really applies to everybody. Like, give respect to get respect, right? You have to be respectful for your employees in order for them to respect you as a leader, right? Even the ones who are kind of awful, right? Especially them, because if they are their behavior is bad, they're nasty, they're snotty to people, whatever, and then you do that, you just lost all high ground. It's going to be really, really hard for you to come back and discipline. I would avoid stereotypes. Back to the generational stereotypes. In addition to, I think, it's number one, not applying message. Number two, I don't think it's a very good practically. Number three, if we start applying those, we're starting to dip our toes into the water of age discrimination. Okay, to put my HR compliance hat on for a second. So unless you really want to learn about the Age Discrimination and Employment Act and the Illinois Compliance Act, just avoid this. Like, how about we all just be people who are here trying to get this thing done? Okay. Focus on those shared goals. That's going to help align your team. Here's something else I would say. Keep in mind that as you start to move forward, leadership is inseparable from the leader. Personal interactions are going to impact your leadership reputation. Leadership actions impact your personal reputation. Like that's just how it is, right? So, we'll use the example. Let's say we're all driving down, okay, coming down 74. some bald guy in a Ford Explorer cuts you off and then slows down real fast so he can get to the exit first, and we all drive to the parking deck together, right? And then lo and behold, you see the same guy wearing this nifty HR fit jacket, and he's telling you about being respectful, right? And how to treat people. You're not going to listen. You're like, that guy is full, right? So like, you're a person everywhere that you go. You can have a work life and you can have a personal life, but understand, like, those things are connected. And virtual you is still you, okay? You out, you're kind of, virtual person out there on Snap, on Instagram, on Facebook, whatever, that's the whole. I think you guys were way, way better positioned for this than people of kind of my generation right after us, because it was like, explode, let's tell everybody what we ever thought, and then you have seen that that might not be the best move. So I actually think you're kind of better with this stuff than a lot of it. So keep that in mind, right? Like that follows. So here's our homework that I would ask you to do for